Okay, let's just start out by talking about how did the pandemic impact your work at CTCA?
Sure. Significantly, like it did all healthcare professionals. At CTCA, we really took a proactive approach to the pandemic, knowing that it was going to keep a lot of people away from hospitals and away from their physicians. You remember early on, things really shut down and people put off elective procedures or elective things. And in cancer, as you know, it's extraordinarily important that people find and identify their disease really early. And some of the delays that people put in, as far as delay of screening colonoscopies, of mammogram, of things that you do when you're well, that find cancer early, impacted the diagnosis of cancer and ultimately is causing some problems even further beyond. And we anticipate that we're going to continue seeing problems. So the pandemic really did impact healthcare in an extraordinary way, from the acute care hospitals that took care of things and did tremendous work and are still doing tremendous work, to even delaying the diagnoses of cancer. So at CTCA, we really tried to take the approach of letting people know that that's all we really do is take care of cancer and cancer patients. So you can't, and that's not going to wait. So cancer doesn't wait for anything. So you need to continue to take care of things.
What do you think the trickle down is going to be like in the year ahead or 5 years from now of that delay, people getting checked?
We're already beginning to see it. We know that all-cause mortality hasn't really changed much throughout this pandemic. Fortunately, there's been a little increase, of course, secondary to COVID itself. But knowing that the earlier you diagnose a cancer, the easier it is to treat, the better the outcomes. So people have longer life expectancies. In fact, take for example lung cancer. Lung cancer that's diagnosed in its earliest stages, like at 1A lung cancer, can be cured through surgical resection. It's gone. It's not a problem. However, if it kind of just goes beyond that, even minimally, it can mean lifelong treatment for that individual. That's a dramatic impact, and that kind of goes down to things like colorectal cancer and breast cancer, and pretty much every cancer is the same way. The longer you wait to identify and treat it, the harder it is to take care of.
I've always been impressed with CTCA, even the farm that you have out there.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about your organization that you're so cutting edge, you're so far ahead, and you treat your patients so well?
It really starts with the vision, the mission, the values that our founder, Dick Stevenson, had over 30 years ago. And it really was focusing on the patient, that patient-oriented care. I mean, it becomes commonplace. It's common knowledge now in medicine that we take care of individuals and not groups of people. And that's really the perspective and the way in which we have always taken care of people. That's what drew me to CTCA 7 years ago as a hospital medicine doc. And that's what's drawn me and kept me in this organization as a leader, to try to help expand our presence, not only in Phoenix itself, but across the country.
I know CTCA has become involved in several research studies. How has that impacted the care of your patients?
Yeah, we are involved in quite a few clinical trials. We have access to many, and it impacts things because the studies that we really try to focus on are those that can directly lead to improved results in individuals, or at least have the promise to do so. And so that does impact, overall treatment of cancer itself. The pandemic actually affected access to some of those trials because, again, people weren't getting care that was necessary. It was hard to coordinate that care. So we continue to expand our ability to offer clinical trials at earlier and earlier stages of those clinical trials. Right now, we're really working closely with some of the pharmaceutical companies that are in development of these. The closer these drugs and that are under trial get to actual release.
I know this is a huge question, but how are we doing in the fight against cancer?
We're making headway. We really are. When you look at life expectancy or mortality related with certain cancers over the last even 5 to 10 years, there's been significant improvement. The new class of drugs, the immunotherapies that are out there, are making remarkable difference even in people who have later stage disease. And I anticipate, with the rapid progression of some of the genomic work that's going on, those individual tumor mutations that happen in someone's cancer that they're dealing with, I anticipate that we're going to see even more dramatic improvement in the future with treatment. it's going to become interesting to know and to see if we can get earlier in diagnosis and identification of even more mutations and abnormalities that may lead someone to it, and then work on risk modification. I think the one part that we continue to struggle with as a society is those risk mitigation strategies, those things that you can do to prevent cancer in yourself. People often forget, most people think immediately to the genetic abnormalities in themselves that lead to risk of cancers. It's only about 10% of cancers at most that we know of, at least at this time. We know that 40% of cancers are caused by people's own lifestyle choices, things like smoking, things that lead to obesity, inactivity, all those things that we can modify. And so that, unfortunately, we have not made progress in. So as much progress as we're making on the treatment side, we need to make as much progress on the prevention side, in my opinion.
How big do you think individualized medicine is going to be going forward?
It's going to become larger and larger. I mean, even today, 5 years, past some of the earlier introductions of those things, that individualized ability to identify those mutations in a tumor that are actually evading your own immune system, and to be able to target or tailor treatment to you. As we do that more, it's going to become more available to individuals. So I do see that rapidly expanding. And there are some people some futurists who are looking at even some of the technological advancements and the rapidity of the rollout of things like the mRNA vaccines and the identification and ability to streamline or look at genetic sequences themselves may lead to even more rapid advances. So.
Okay, last question. What's your outlook for the future? What do you hope for CTCA in the future? What do you hope for cancer treatment overall in the future?
Yeah, when you look at the outlook of, start with cancer itself. I really am hopeful that we'll get to a point where we can identify things early enough and really tailor treatment to take care of most cancers as they show up in early stages. Can we become to the point that we prevent all cancers? That's a big stretch, but I do think that we have in our lifetimes possibly the ability to get to tailored treatment that is going to be very advanced. As far as Cancer Treatment Centers of America, as a leader of that organization in Phoenix, I really have an optimistic outlook. We have initially, our organization really focused at folks coming to this area to seek out the expert, individualized care that we provided to patients themselves. I think we missed the boat a little bit early on, and we're now really expanding that and expanding out into this community itself. As Phoenix continues to grow and the rapid growth we're seeing over these last months and years, there's so many patients that are not being served, not only in Phoenix, but in the Arizona market itself. And they're not being served because there's delay in access to care. And so I would like to see Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and everything I've been doing over these last 6 months as a leader here, is to get into the community, to broaden our reach, and to let people know that we're here for the Phoenicians themselves and for the people outside of that in Arizona and other places. And so I'm optimistic, I'm excited. I think there's a lot on the horizon that's going to make us be able to catapult and grow even faster. And so the future's bright.